In the last video I showed the G minor pentatonic. Not only across the neck, but going up it as well. Now, we had those extra notes. We had the second of the scale, we had that one, and then the sixth note there. Now this turned it from a pentatonic into a diatonic, which is a full scale. Most scales that you see, apart from chromatic ones, are diatonic in that they have 7 different tones or notes in them. Now, this is all well and good, but that 6th note and 7th note here, I had the 6th note as this, and the 7th note right next to it. But actually the reality is that for some chords that would appear in this key, that 6th note is sometimes just brought down a fret, and the 7th note is sometimes brought up. It depends on the chord. So what I've got here is G minor, C minor, back to G minor, and D7. Now the chord does dictate what happens to these notes. Don't worry too much, because the first 5 notes are absolutely fair game for any of it. So it's just the 6th and the 7th ones. I'm going to give you a demo of that. So as you could hear rather, those first 5 notes were fine. They work with all of the chords there. And that's like the chords that you get in a blues or a bit of Latin or a bit of rock and pop. Essentially 3-chord trick as it's known. You've got G minor, C minor and D7. Now, all of this stuff here, these alterations, you can also bring them to your scale that goes across. If I've got my main scale, my main pentatonic, I can add my 2nd note and my 6th one. Note that the 6th is a bit of a stretch there on 7th fret in terms of this fret position, but you could do this. You could actually bring that note back there. It does involve a shift, but that's fine, it's only 1 fret. If I was to start the scale with my last finger here, I could actually use 1 hand position, but I've got open strings, so it's not ideal when you're learning the pattern here. You could play it up an octave. And that would work. That's absolutely fine. Now, as I said before, you can alter these notes. The 6th could be either of those, and the 7th could be either of those, depending on the chord. Now, in terms of the chord numbers, we've got chord 1, which is G minor. Now, with the G minor, I could use that raised 6th note there. But for C minor, I have to bring it down. And for the D7 chord, I have to raise that note there. Now, I'm going to play through the sequence a couple of times so that you can just hear how this works. It's best to try little riffs that maybe use a few notes and just altering them as you go, rather than a whole host of notes. Now that 6th note there, that has to change for C minor. G minor, the first chord, you could actually use either of them. And you can get that sort of minor sixth that's reminiscent of the sort of gypsy jazz. We have that sixth note there. You can also do the slides that we were talking about yesterday. So you can slide between all of those notes of the minor pentatonic, which would then give rise to your other notes in the scale. Little flap there. So that's the sort of thing that you can do with this scale, as long as you're aware of the first 5 notes being the same pretty much for the entire sequence. It's really the 6th and 7th ones that you have to alter. So you can sort of divide your scale between familiar and bits that you need to work on. And this backing track that I've just recorded here on GarageBand, I'm going to put that on a separate video. The link is in the box below so that you can practice all of your soloing with that.